Welcome to the Best Known Church Show, where we show you how to 10x your reach with church marketing that will help you increase your impact, make more disciples, and become the cornerstone of your community again. This is for the leaders with an outrageous vision, because anything less would be an inaccurate reflection of our Creator. The ones who have unreasonable faith, because you know God works unreasonable miracles. And the ones who are relentless in the pursuit of your calling, because anything less would not make a good and faithful servant. If that's you, you're in the right place. Now, please welcome your host and guide on this journey to become the best known organization in your community, Justin Nava.
Welcome, Pastor. Let me ask you one thing to start off today. Do you ever feel like nobody is just paying attention to your church, like your community, your city, your neighborhoods, your people that you're trying to reach? Just feel like they don't want to listen, don't really care, or yada, apathetic. And you feel like no matter what you say or where you say it or when you say it, you get the same results, which was apathy, inaction, and passive, if anything, passive care. Today I want to share with you why this isn't something they teach you in seminary, and this is something that's really difficult to do on your own. But when you implement what we're about to talk today, you're going to notice a big shift in the way that your community pays attention to you and the way that you can serve your people better, not by changing what you say, but changing how you say it. This is a big mistake that churches make in their communications, and you have to make this shift to get people from being passive consumers to active participants, because we don't want to just have more passivity in our pews, in our churches, more drop-off parents dropping off the kids. My child's Awana starts tonight, and I already know a drop-off parent that's going to go so their child can be with my child, but the parent's going to drop their child off. It's more passiveness. And the church doesn't communicate in this way, but the churches that we do work with, that shift their communication strategy from what you say to how you say it, and we're going to get into the persuasive perfection that we can hit as churches. We're not manipulating, but we are ethically persuading our communities and our neighborhoods to take action and make decisions that God is calling them to make. And if we haven't met, my name is Justin Nava. I run a church marketing agency, Nava Church Marketing. You can go check us out at navachurchmarketing.com or text or call us at any time, 832-861-7654. And I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've been making many mistakes in the past. And quite honestly, I have graciously stumbled. I haven't stumbled into success, but I have graciously stumbled into discovering and being able to utilize really the psychology that God's given us to communicate with the people he wants to call to his kingdom. Don't let that make you think I'm a Calvinist, but I do believe that God is calling us. The sheep hear the shepherd's voice. And if us as those intermediary shepherds, as pastors and leaders and lay leaders and ministers and whatever you call us, we have a responsibility to make sure that there are no obstacles in the way of the sheep. And those sheep sometimes, when they hear God's voice or they hear our voice on behalf of God, they remember all the other shepherds in their lives that abused them, or the stories that they've heard of other shepherds that weren't actually doing any shepherding, but were abusing their power, being selfish shepherds. And if we don't actively communicate the purpose, truth, and gospel to these sheep, then we are actively putting a roadblock in the way and letting them be passive, letting them be careless, letting them be apathetic to the great shepherd that's calling them. And so what I really want you to take home today, pastors, when we talk about this, we really have to be careful, not just what we say, but how we say it. You ever have this happen? I have not. I don't even have to ask that question because every pastor knows what I'm talking about. We call it the pitch hitter preacher. And or the pitch preacher, maybe pinch preacher, which is where, pastor, you can preach 51 weeks a year, 51 Sundays a year, and don't even take a vacation. But that one week you do, and a guest preacher comes in, or maybe if you're in youth, you take your kids to camp, and this new preacher hits it out of the park. And he's saying the same thing that you were saying. But the way that he says it communicates and reaches your people in a way that you never could over the last year. And selfishly and pridefully, it does kind of sting a little bit, doesn't it? Like, God's put us in a leadership position to help these people and guide these people and to speak on his behalf and to give revelation to these people and messages and guide them and counsel them and shepherd them and help them, heal them, hope them, give them hope. And yet some guy comes in and preaches something that you probably preached about 4 months ago, and the people respond to it. They listen to it. They remember it. They get more compliments. And yeah, it stings a little bit, but why? Why does it seem like a pinch hitter that comes in at the bottom of the ninth, hasn't taken a swing the whole game, hits the game-winning home run, he's being interviewed after the game, he's in the newspapers the next day, he's on ESPN Top 10, and you're sitting here like, I scored the 5 points that tied the game. Why are you... Everyone pays attention to the pinch hitter. It's a pinch hitting. It's not a fallacy. It's not even a theory. I don't know what to call it, but it's the pinch hitting preacher, and the guy that comes in one time and just knocks it out of the park. And you're just like, dude, I've been saying this for months, but you listen to this guy. It stings a little bit, but you take it with a smile on your face. It's like when you watch your kid fall down, you feel bad, but then he gets back up, and you're like, yes. It stings a little bit, but I'm happy for it because this is something that is still moving you forward. It's moving our church forward. But what was it that they're doing? Is it just a matter of hearing something different? Is it just a matter of God moving in someone else? Maybe I was in the way. I think we always think that whenever someone does something that we've been trying to do, but they do it better on the first try after we've been struggling with it, we think, well, maybe we just had to be humbled. And maybe that's part of it. But maybe it's also the way that they say it and how they communicated that message that resonated to your people in a unique way because they communicated it in a different way. The how was different, even though the what was the same. And so as pastors, you're not taught communication in a marketing sense in seminary. And in continuing education, it's very much from an authoritative, empathetic stance, more of a counselor role, coming to your community from a position of authority. And because of that, we know what needs to happen. We know what people are struggling with. We know why they're struggling with it. But we don't always communicate the how of it. And that's where a big difference in the way that preaching can be different from marketing is preaching. You have a little bit more authority, a little bit more empathy that's just naturally given to you because you're on stage, because you have the title, because you have the experience, because you have the ordination. Whereas in marketing, you're clumped in with everyone else. It used to be 40 years ago, the church said something or something was put out there on behalf of the church and people listened. Nowadays, we're in with the noise of everyone else, and people, including the young folks that are in college and coming out of college, will trust a stranger on Instagram more than they will trust their neighborhood church. We always go back to the same thing. We have what should be, and we have what is. We cannot live in the world of what should be. That's how churches die. We have to live in the world of what is and try to nurture it into what it should be, which is why I believe the church should be the cornerstone of the community. The church should be the best known organization in the community. It's not. What it is another organization that, to the eye of the beholder, the eye of your community, could be selfish, greedy people taking advantage of the helpless, the hopeless, the poor. Some people will think it's a great charity, but it's not for me. In reality, we know God is for everyone. Jesus died for everyone. How can we get that message across? We always communicate what the message is. But maybe we have to change not what the message is, but how we say it. And where this really comes into, I audit church websites almost on a daily basis. I audited one yesterday. And I said, there's a lot of great information as far as it was a school, as far as what this school is, but I don't see a lot of information of how that's relevant to my family. I understand that this is a private school, so who this is for children who need to get out of the public school system, that to accelerate, to excel, cannot be homeschooled for whatever reason. I understand what the school is for. I understand who it is. I understand what it's for. I can see the programs. I can see what the programs are, the extracurriculars, the schoolrooms, the classrooms. But I didn't see how it affects me as a parent, how it affects my children, and what it would benefit them in the long run. And this is so often how we communicate our church. We look on our website or our social media and think, well, people are coming here to learn more about us. Let me give them more about us. But what we lack is what that does to them and how it affects them. So we teach the what, we explain the what, we communicate the what, we get the what on a megaphone, a mega what. But we don't get the how out there, as in how this will benefit your life, your family. Jesus communicated the how all along. Are you thirsty? Here's how to never be thirsty again. Are you hungry? Here's how to be hungry ever. Are you going to die? Here is how to avoid death forever. And so we need to shift from information that is just putting out what we do to inspiration, as in how this will affect your life. This is something that, Pastor, I know you get, whether you do this on a weekly basis, quarterly basis, or just for special occasions when it comes to altar calls. I understand that you get really good at this, about how Jesus can save you, how Jesus can give you abundant life, how Jesus can support you. But we talk about the what, we talk about the how, but sorry, I got distracted. There's something going on behind the camera here. But we don't talk about that how after the altar call. We nail it before, we nail it during, we don't nail it before, we don't nail it after. And that's why people will come up and say, gosh, I was so inspired. God was really talking to me and pulling me and reaching into my heart and just breaking down walls. No one ever says, I was so informed the walls came down. Would you rather, Pastor, someone come to you afterwards and say, that sermon was so informing? Or would you rather them say, that sermon was so inspiring? Information is consumable. Inspiration is actionable. Remember that. Information is consumable. Inspiration is actionable. So in anything that we write, shoot with our photo cameras or shoot with our video cameras, write, design, anything like that, it needs to come from the place of inspiration, not just inspiration. What does this look like? Well, this looks like, instead of talking about us as a church, we need to talk about the people as themselves. So instead of saying we are a place to find hope and healing, you should say this is where you can find hope and healing. This is a place where you can feel home. Yeah, pretty much. But what does that mean? What does that look like? I mean, I got neighborhood restaurants that say, hey, when you're here, you're family. Welcome to the neighborhood. Everyone wants me to feel at home because when I'm at home, I'll spend money. Right? We're about to drop a lot of money because we had a water leak in our own house. We dropped a lot of money on a car repair recently. We dropped a lot of money on AC unit. It's been a crazy month at the Nava house because this is home. This is important to us. We understand the why. But why is the church home? Why does it feel like home? No matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, we will always love you. That's how my dad and mom are. That's how some moms and dads aren't. Which is why, what is the home? For some people, the home is something they escaped as soon as they could. It may not be the warm and fuzzies that we always think it is. That's why I don't recommend you use Welcome Home on your website. What does that mean? What are you trying to get to? This is a place where you'll feel like you'll belong. This is a place where you'll feel comfortable. This is a place where you can be yourself. This is a place where you don't have to put on a skin to impress everyone. We're all messed up, broken people, but we've all been saved by something greater. And you can too. Information versus inspiration. Always go towards inspiration. And along the same things, we talk about consuming and then acting. You want to make sure that when you communicate to your community and your neighborhood and your neighbors and your city about your church, you give them something to act upon, not something to consume. We want to encourage them to do activity, not to just sit down and consume. And we've gotten really good about announcing things for people to consume and not so much for things for people to participate in. Now, this is not something that means that you have to only do like, hey, service opportunities. This doesn't mean you can't just have someone come into the door for a nice, easy consuming activity. I mean, even Jesus fed thousands of people only for them just to eat and leave. I understand that this can be part of an effective strategy to build relationships and nurture discipleship in your community. What I am saying is, if you had the choice, if you had the option, you need to create action. Don't just tell people to come to an event. Tell them when the event is and how to RSVP and why it's important to RSVP. Space is limited. Gifts for first-time guests are limited. RSVP and we'll take you out to lunch afterward. RSVP or give us a call and Pastor will take you out for coffee to meet you. I can't tell you how many churches I would have loved to visit and loved to have been a part of, really. There's a church down the road I would love to have transferred my membership to. I'm a Baptist boy. But I would love to have called my church home, except I could never meet the pastor. It was a month before I even got to be in the same room as the guy. And there's a large church. I don't have anything against large churches. I do have something personally for my family against not being able to have a conversation with the pastor without having to go through security. That's just me. You can do you, but that's just me. So you want to make sure you give people something to act upon. You know, this is easy when we do things like potlucks or RSVPs or movie nights. You know, we understand that. But anything where, you know, we get online, we want them to not only plan a visit. Planning a visit is great. Not only giving is great. Not only check out our ministries. That stuff is great too. How about send us a message? Relationships are done on a one-to-one basis, a two-way street, not just a megaphone blasting information at another. You didn't ask your wife to marry you after only blasting everything that's great about you. You learned about her. You took her out where she liked. You did the things that she liked. You had arguments and you said she was right. It's a two-way street. And so for a relationship to happen, at least to go from that one to many to one-to-one, you have to call them to action. And then don't just be passive. You know, this is something that I think churches, again, pastors, we do really well in the altar call. We don't do really well the other 166 and a half hours of the week, if you are doing a 30-minute altar call. And that's giving people, speaking in a way that creates action and not just passiveness, right? We need to stop saying, we hope you'll be there. You won't want to miss it. No, it's we'll see you there. We look forward to having you. We look forward to meeting you. Every phone call that the church ends with, every phone call, hey, we look forward to meeting you in person. Are you coming to receive a benevolence check? I look forward to meeting you. My name's Justin. I'm wearing a black polo shirt. I work in the office across from where you'll pick up the check. I hope to meet you there. Hey, Sally, is this your first time here? Oh, fantastic. Are you coming to do, I don't know, the women's event? Let me introduce you to my wife. She'll be here at the women's event. You two can sit next to each other. You'll have someone to sit next to. Hey, by the way, you got a kid? Let's do a play date after church. We'll go to lunch. We'll go to Chick-fil-A. Let the kids play on the playground. You know, learn a little about you. Welcome to the neighborhood, right? These are things that we dream of our church members doing. We can nurture this as a church. Create a welcome ministry that doesn't just stand at the door and smile, right? Greeter ministry, welcome ministry, first impression ministry can go beyond the door, go beyond the parking lot. It needs to go into relationships. So encourage action, not just passiveness. I was going to say passivity, but that's not a word. Focus on creating action. Don't just create information, create inspiration. Don't just make them consume, make them act. And don't just let them be passive, make them be active. Give them something to do. Believe it or not, when it comes to marketing, people want to be told to do. The best performing websites tell you to do something. It doesn't say, if you like what you see around here, click on the new here page and just see if it's worth giving us a visit. No, click here to get your 10% coupon. When you download the coupon, it says it expires tomorrow. I really got to go tomorrow. Give us a call for a free quote. You can't get it online. You got to call them. You got to introduce yourself and get that relationship. We make things we try to be so inoffensive as a church, even though Jesus was quite offensive. And the church has been quite offensive for bad, but also for good sometimes. People want to be told what to do. That's why God gives us shepherds in the church, because the shepherd needs to guide the church. If we were all left on our own accord, oh man, we'd have even more churches. We wouldn't have 330,000 churches in America. We'd have 300 million churches, right? Everyone would have to be their own church. And then the last thing here I'm going to leave you with is you need to focus on the transformative. You know, another way to say information versus inspiration, you heard it say from other marketers, is information versus transformation. And so we need to focus not only on what to expect and how to do it, but also focus on what the result is, what the benefit is. So oftentimes we communicate what we're doing and why that's important, but we don't communicate what the benefit is. What is the benefit to the kingdom? What is the benefit to your family? What is the benefit to you as a husband, to you as a father, to you as a wife, to you as a mother, to you as a grandfather, to you as a church member, to you as a neighbor, to you as a business owner, to you as a fellow citizen in the city? What is this going to benefit you for? Like, we know a potluck is fun, but what is the benefit of that? You might meet someone new that can help you along the way. We had a leak in the house. A neighbor sent 2 guys because he owns a plumbing business and came and fixed it. I would have loved for that neighbor to be someone at my church. In fact, we have a contractor that came yesterday that's in a small group that belongs to my family. I texted my family who knows a contractor that can do X, Y, Z. And they said, we've got a guy in our small group. He's going to come over later today. Like, I love stuff like that. That's transformation. That only happens at get-togethers that happen at the church. And so if you feel like your social circle is not large enough, you feel like you're still a stranger here, well, hey, come on. Well, we won't pressure you or anything like that, but people are here and would love to get to know you. So that way you don't have to go through things alone. There are amazing stories that happen because people broke bread first together. But so often the potluck just becomes, hey, we're doing a potluck. It'll be fun. We'll get to be gluttonous in the name of Jesus. A through J, bring a main dish. K through L, whatever the letters are, bring a side dish. So, you need to do the transformative. Student camp. We sometimes get it with student camp, but it's still not as good as it could be. We talk about the transformations. I was called to ministry in student camp. A girl who didn't even know there were multiple books in the Bible. She was sitting next to me at student camp, and the pastor said, turn to Exodus. And she said, where's Exodus? And I said, it's the second book. And she said, well, which one's the second book? Where's the second? She's like looking at her Bible, and she's like, where's the second book? She thought it was she got saved that week. Right? These are the stories, but what happens afterwards? All right. Afterwards, I finally felt fulfilled in my calling to chase my dream and become the man that God wanted to be, not chasing little rabbits, not chasing money, but chasing the ministry and chasing growing the kingdom. I was beat as a young person, and I'm speaking on behalf of someone else now. I was beat as a young person. I was addicted to drugs. I had run away from home. I was on my own, desperate, stealing, lying, whatever I could do to survive. And God got a hold of me and changed me. And now I'm prophesying in His name. Starting a family and raising kids to live a better life than I ever had. Those are huge things that all happened because someone just approached me on the sidewalk and bought me a lunch, right? These are great things. And so often as churches, we communicate the before, right? We're going to give you $5, go and bless someone this week, but we don't communicate the afterwards. I bought a lunch with someone and started a relationship, helped them fix their car, got to share Jesus with them. They accepted Christ. Their family accepted Christ. Now they're active members in the community, all because we gave them $5. We've been doing it every year for 20 years, and we're looking for stories just like what happened with Sam. Sam, stand up. This is Sam now, who used to be broke, desperate, lying, thieving, conniving person. We couldn't even trust him in the doors of our church, and now he's one of our best members. Not because of anything of his own, but because of God's grace in him, and because of the service the church has done for his family, God was able to speak to him. These are the transformations. You want more stories in your church? You have stories like this in your church. You're not sharing them. You're not sharing the fact that pastor was kicked out of Sunday school when he was a kid, and then became a traveling evangelist only to make his church home the place where he shepherded. We don't talk about how pastor's marriage, while he was preaching on marriage, was struggling, and the emotion that he brought to the sermon was not from stories that he had heard, but from his own. And even the pastor is susceptible. And if the devil can work in the pastor's life, certainly he can work in your life, because the pastor is no different than you, only just a different calling. It's not a better calling, it's a different calling. And if he can rescue my family, he can rescue yours. We had women here that were beaten and ashamed and abused and emotionally abused and verbally abused. But because they stuck with God and kept going to God, and it wasn't easy, God delivered her out of that relationship, delivered her husband. Regardless of whether the husband was redeemed or repented or not, God has saved her and rescued her. And now she's here doing work with kids, raising up young women to avoid the kind of toxic relationships that she used to be in. God's rescued her because of this women's event we have coming up. We talk a lot about what We don't talk about the transformation because of it. And so when you're communicating these things, tell stories. We don't have enough stories. You go to any business website, B2B website, you go to IBM, Intel, Walmart, Target, little boutique stores. You see stories of how the business didn't save the family. It just saved them like 10%. Hey, I got 10% off of my car insurance. Hey, this contractor saved me 10% on this job. We are saving people eternity. We are giving them hope and purpose and healing and everlasting life and getting the burden off of them and guiding them in life to live fulfilled and abundantly. And we just keep telling people, Sundays at 9:30, potluck, sign up here, women's event. We'd love to have you. There is something more that we need to communicate. Do not just communicate the what's coming up, communicate what to expect, the transformation that's coming up. So let me ask you this. Are you talking about your people as you communicate to your, not only your church, but your community, your city, your neighborhood? Are you talking about them? Or are you just talking about us? Are you giving them inspiration to act? Or are you just giving them information to consume? Are you giving consistent calls to action? Are you giving consistent calls to action? Are you telling them there's just stuff happening, hope you're here? Or do you say, this is happening and this is how you can get involved? And yeah, you can use their sign up to follow up with them, to call them, to text them, to thank them, to remind them. All that good stuff is fantastic. I love it. But they will do nothing if you give them nothing to do. You have to give them something to do. Call them to action consistently. You can't sit up there at stage and say, hey, if you'd love to sign up for this women's event, you can give me a text, let me know. Sharon's going to be in the back. You can go on our website and sign up. Good luck trying to find it because we don't know what we're doing because we didn't hire Nava. No, give them one thing to do. If you want to go, text this number. You don't have a phone number? Someone's going to text this number for you because we want you to go. We want you to be here. Give them that consistent call to action and ask it multiple times. Right? How many times do we have to ask for things to get it in the budget? How many times do we ask for things to get the price down for the contractor that's coming? How many times do we have to ask for quotes to get the price that we want? How many times do we have to ask people to come to church before they actually do? Give consistent calls to action. Don't just say, hey, sign up in the back this week. All right, well, Rhonda's not here, so sign up on the website. Oh, well, the website's down and Rhonda's not here, so just let me know afterwards. We got a sign up sheet in the back. Good luck finding it. Consistent calls to action. And then let me ask you, are you sharing the after? Are you sharing the stories, the testimonies? Some churches are catching on to like record testimonies for next year's promotional event for camp or conference or whatever, but you should share those stories the day after, the week after. I mean, I love it when student camp happens and then the Sunday after a student comes up and shares his experience. You can keep sharing that experience. Revisit that student a month later, a year later. Not only as promotion of how much fun we have, but what is the transformation? Because I will give to that. I will sponsor a student to go find his purpose in life and figure out what kind of man or woman they should be that God wants them to be. I don't really care about how much fun the blob was, if there even is still a blob. Share the after, share the why, share how it benefits us as a community. I want you to be the best known organization in the community. I want people to know about your church more than Walmart. Why? Because I think that's the way it should be. You as a church are giving life-saving, life-altering, life-redeeming messages of our God and Savior Jesus Christ to the community. And if people don't know about you, how can they come to you? And when you become the best known organization, people know you. If they don't know you, they ask their friends and family, and their friends and family know you. And if their friends and family don't know you, or they don't have any friends and family, like too many people in our community, they go to Google. And Google should know you. You should be the best known organization in your community. So no matter where people turn, you are there on the lips to be recommended, to be referred, to be shepherded to. And if you're not there yet, Pastor, you've been working, but you've been spinning the wheels, digging into the dirt even further. We need to get you some help to get out of there. You know, in marketing, all the marketing conferences I go to and people that I see on YouTube, they always go back to the first three things. Hey, you're starting a marketing business, health, wealth, and relationships. Focus on those things. People will pay for health. Health advice, health programs, healthy food. People will pay to get rich, or at least learn how to. They will pay for courses. They will pay for access. They will pay for newsletters. They will pay for advice. They will pay for consultations. Relationships. People will pay to get advice, books, information, articles, role-playing, things to figure out how to become a better man, to be more attractive to women, or to be a better woman, to be more attractive and compelling to men, or how to keep the toxic men away, or how to get out of that emotional abuse. People will pay for relationships. The crazy thing is, I'm not in one of those because that's not my passion in life. I am here to help the church because I want to see the kingdom spread. And the weird thing, and I tell people this all the time, I wish God had given me a heart for the homeless, a heart for kids, a heart for a bigger heart for music. I mean, I love music in the church, but my heart is helping churches communicate. It's the weirdest thing, and I wish it wasn't that way. I know some pastors that wish they didn't have to be shepherds of the church, but that's their calling. God's given me this passion for you. Health, wealth, and relationships win for a reason. There's an obvious outcome. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be able to do more. I'm going to have more money. I'm going to be able to buy more things. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to have a better relationship with my spouse. I'm going to have a better relationship with my kids, my parents. Those are obvious outcomes that give us inspiration to do better, that give us something to act upon, that are more active than passive. And we know what the transformation is going to be. The reason those are winners is not because of the categorization, but because of the transformation we know is possible. Churches isn't in that list. We need to make it a part of that list where every church knows every person knows the transformation that comes when they get engaged with the church and become an active participant and member in the church. And if they don't know that yet about your church, then evaluate how you're talking to them. Evaluate your calls to action to the community. Evaluate whether or not you're sharing the transformation or just the information. And if you want any help with that, give us a call. In fact, even if you don't think you want help, give us a call anyways. We'll give you a free consultation, 832-861-7654. You can go to 360.navachurchmarketing.com. And we'll walk you through that process to figure out where you are right now, what the clear path is, and if and only if it makes sense for us to help you along that path, then we can talk about what that looks like. But my goal is to equip your church to communicate to the right people in the right way, because you are uniquely equipped to uniquely serve a unique group of people. And if you just do what everyone else is doing, you're going to leave those people by the wayside, and you're going to become a church that people migrate to from another church. You're going to get more transfers. I don't want you to get more transfers. I mean, transfers are nice. I want you to get more new members of the body. I want you to get to people that angels are throwing parties for in heaven, so you can disciple them to reach more people and make an impact as well for the kingdom. 832-861-7654. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe wherever you are. Leave a review. Share this with a friend, a pastor that needs to hear this. We're live every Wednesday on YouTube. We've got some clips that are going out. Appreciate you watching this. God bless, and I will see you next week.
That's going to do it for today's episode of the Best Known Church Show with Justin Nava. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest news, strategies, and resources that you need to reach 10x more people and become the best known in your community. To send us a message or leave a voicemail for Justin to be played on a future show, visit thebestknownchurchshow.com. And if you'd like to work with us so you can focus on your ministry, give us a call at 832-861-7654. Until next time, stay outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless.